Welcome to episode 37 of Book Nerd Paradise, where we get to know an author as they tell us one of their favorite quotes, read from their work, pose a trivia question, and give away a book or two. Hi, I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure Series. As I started last week, I'm going to read you another section out of the prequel, Power of the Air's Passion. So, once again, here's the cover. This is available for free download, the eBook, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Google Play. So here we go. Here we are, the smaller collector indicated shortly thereafter. They stopped outside a hulking wrought iron gate that interrupted a stone wall. Fleur-de-lis had been artfully styled on the gate's balusters, and the complementing archway announced in tarnished gold plating, "The People's Cemetery." The doors swung open of their own accord with a high-pitched protest of metal on metal. Imogenia noticed a sign just outside, "No unauthorized digging." So glad they clarified that, she thought sadly. The trio passed row upon row of weather-worn tombstones. Imogenia recognized the graveyard, but had never before noticed the shimmering, towering structure that they now approached. Her escorts directed her up a mountain of steps, pausing at a pair of imposing doors. All was quiet and deserted, so when the doors opened, Imogenia was unprepared for the scene that greeted her. 100 or more spirits navigated a high-domed atrium in a fever pitch of yelling and a cacophony of indistinct conversations. Above the tumult, Imogenia's escorts directed her to the end of a line of spirits stretching the length of the space. Caught up in watching the hustle and bustle, she did as instructed and inched forward while gawking at the variety of beings. A tall, lustrous spirit ahead of her held his head in his large palm and kept lifting it above his torso to get a better view. A lively, translucent spirit, clipboard in hand, gestured animatedly to his companion as they passed by, heading in the opposite direction. A being clad in a long, flowing robe instructed a throng of pearly uniformed followers in what sounded like standard protocols. A pale man dressed in a luminous white tunic and leggings strode past, barking instructions to a silvery dog following close at his sandal-shod heels. Something sparkly drew Imogenia's attention upward to where more spirits traversed a balcony that jutted out 3 floors up. More fascinating still, however, was the scene beyond the front of the line where a signpost stood. A variety of arrows pointed in disparate directions, too far away to make out the names on each monochromatic indicator, but everyone seemed preoccupied by it. A trumpet blasted and 2 uniformed attendants escorted a lady spirit to the bank of a river beyond the signpost. 7 gondolas, complete with brilliant white striped shirted gondoliers, bobbed against a dock. The river's color changed from spring green to pansy purple, and a gondolier began serenading the lady as she approached. The song launched the woman into a fit of giggles. The next spirit to leave the line received a clipboard as a uniformed official pointed him toward the unclaimed baggage office not far from where Imogenia now stood. Interesting. "Move up, miss," a uniformed attendant to her left instructed, bringing her attention back to the line that she now led. She glided forward and studied the arrows. The topmost directional read Peace Paradise. Another, pointing in the opposite direction, indicated Hades. These destinations she understood. However, she was unsure about the ones below. Unclaimed baggage, unfinished business office, guest services, employment office, and waiting area. And we'll pick it up there next week. So now on to our show. Today, we welcome YA fantasy author C.S. Lakin as our guest. C.S. is a prolific award-winning novelist, writing instructor, and professional copy editor who lives in the San Francisco Bay Area. She has an award-winning blog for writers that provides deep writing instruction and posts on industry trends. She also offers critique services and teaches workshops at writing conferences around the country. Links to those are in the notes below. As for her writing, her 7-book fantasy series, The Gates of Heaven, are allegorical fairy tales drawing from classic tales we all read as children. She's also written 4 suspense/mysteries, and she says sci-fi enthusiasts will love Time Sniffers, a wild young adult romance that will entangle you in time. Sounds good. Please join me in welcoming C.S. Lakin.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Awesome to see you. Okay, so you'll be reading from your YA fantasy novel, The Wolf of Tebron, Book 1 in the Gates of Heaven. So that we can get a feel for the series, would you give us a brief synopsis?
easiest to just read the back cover copy for you. Duran dreams of living a simple life as a blacksmith in his forested village of Tebron. But when his wife, Cheris, disappears in a whisk of magic, his dream shatters as he is forced to go on a perilous journey to the ends of the world to rescue her. The goose woman tells him he must solve the riddle of the 3 keys and will wear out 3 pairs of shoes before he battles the moon, who has trapped Cheris in a sandcastle perched above the sea. Dismayed and fearful, Duran sets out alone, but along the way finds unlikely companionship in a wolf named Rua, who becomes his guide and trusted friend. In true fairy tale tradition, Duran must face daunting challenges within and without in order to bring Cheris safely home.
You've selected a favorite quote. If you would, tell us what that is and then tell us why it's a favorite.
I always love from G.K. Chesterton is this one. He says, "The perfect happiness of man is an exact and perilous balance, like that of a desperate romance. Man must have just enough faith in himself to have adventures and just enough doubt to enjoy them." So what that says to me is that life is a big adventure, and if you're overconfident and you plan everything too much, you won't have any fun in your adventure. You have to have faith in yourself to be willing to risk and to go out there and try new things, maybe to write a book or travel the world. But you have to have that little bit of doubt, which to me is just that willingness to learn and to be open in order to have that adventure and to really enjoy it. It's a perilous balance, perfect happiness. I like that because, we're always striving for happiness, and we want to try to find that perfect balance between being adventurous and hiding in our room, but also not being ridiculous and living too extreme a life that we don't set balance. So, yeah.
You're also giving away a book. What are you giving away?
Well, I thought I'd give away this book, The Wolf of Tebron. So if we want to have a copy of that book, that's great. It's probably easier to give an ebook away to just gift a Kindle copy. But if somebody doesn't want a Kindle copy, I could certainly gift a print book to U.S. citizens just because of the shipping issues.
So if you're U.S. based, then it's a paperback or an ebook, your choice. Or if you're international, then it's an ebook. Cool.
Right. That's
all right.
Right.
Awesome. And to enter to win, what you need to do is this week, I'm asking you to, in the comment section for your entry, tell me what your favorite YA fantasy or sci-fi novel is and why. I'm just interested to find out. So that if you would also please leave a Twitter or Facebook address so that we can easily get a hold of you. Sometimes if it's just a YouTube address, it's not easy to get a hold of you. Yes, you'll be reading from your novel. As I said, it's The Wolf of Tebron, Book 1 in the Gates of Heaven series. Would you briefly set up the portion you'll be reading from and then share your story with us?
Duran has been having nightmares about his wife being trapped in the sandcastle above the sea, and he's learning that the moon is the one that has trapped his wife, and he's got to go find her. He's going to travel all over the world, to the ends of the world, to the house of the moon, the house of the sun, the cave of the south wind, and to the sea itself in order to go find his wife in his dreams and rescue her. It's very fairy tale-ish. So in this scene, he's already made friends with Rua, the wolf, and they've been traveling to the house of the moon, and they've been climbing and climbing into the mountains and the snow, and it's been getting colder and more miserable, and time has slipped away, so it feels as if he's been traveling for years. So this is right before he meets the moon in her crazy house at the end of the world, which is a fun section in the book. Fancy that. Here's the moon's house. Sorry sight, if you ask me. Now maybe you will find your answers, but I cannot stay here much longer. Duran rushed over to the wolf's side. Rua, what's wrong? Are you unwell? Odd, I have this terrible urge to howl. It grows in me like a rancid meal I must disgorge. Oh, lovely. I do not want to make a commotion. What if it upsets the moon and she sends you away? I cannot risk that. Rua, you can't leave me here alone. What am I supposed to do? Rua clenched his teeth and scrunched his face. Go, talk to the moon. He turned and stared at the huge moon lifting herself up from the edge of the world and rising into the night sky. Not a star dared make an appearance alongside so breathtaking an entrance. The wolf rolled his eyes. Duran, I must leave now. Joanne was overtaken by a wave of fear. What if the moon won't speak to me? What if she really is crazy? What will she do to me? Rua hung his head and started inching away from the steps. The moon is strong. It is said among wolves, to what will you look for help if you will not look to that which is stronger than yourself? He skulked away from Joanne and toward the cliffs he had climbed the day before. Joanne, you will be fine. Do not grow faint. I will not be far, just down the hill a bit. Joanne watched as the wolf loped through the crags and disappeared from sight. Quiet nearly smothered him. Joanne took a longer look around him. He found himself standing in a huge rock arena, surrounded on all sides by sentinels of ochre stone, a ragged circle of slabs of similar sizes rising far above his head, many of the slabs joined together with flat stone caps, like stacked divining cards or those spotted wooden blocks that old men played with in the tavern. Moonlight filtered through the massive shapes, splitting into beams that crossed and refracted, bouncing off stone and creating a five-pointed star of brilliant light at Joanne's feet. He felt neither cold nor warm as he stood drenched in light. Joanne walked over to the steps and touched one with a hesitant finger. The glass was as smooth as ice, and the little moon wavered like a reflection on rippling water. He placed a foot on a riser and stopped. The step held his weight, so he continued, step after step, stirring and disturbing moons that resettled as each foot lifted away. His footfalls made no sound, but his soft rabbit boots seemed to sink a little with each contact. Partway up the staircase, Joanne glanced back to the star pattern in the center of the stone slab circle. It shifted to the side as the faceless moon climbed the starless sky. He searched with his eyes for Rua, to no avail. He trusted the wolf would be waiting for him when he came back. Joanne grimaced, if he made it back. Nearing the top of the staircase, Joanne got a better look at the shack at the end of the world. He sensed that at one time, long ago, this had been an impressive palace. He studied the elegant scroll work wrapping the eaves of the house, now chipped and crumbling. Bas-relief carvings of planets and moons interlaced with waves that foamed and crested. The lintel over the door tipped to one side, and the heavy slat door itself was warped, if rock could warp, and no longer fit into its frame. It hung uselessly from its silver hinges, exposing an entrance that pooled soft light across a smooth, glassy floor. The roof seemed to be made of carved stone, half moons overlapping like baked tile, pearlescent and radiant. The shack leaned against the backdrop of night, and as Joanne cautiously peeked around the side, there was nothing but blackness behind it, a place where no moonlight dared to go, like a heavy black curtain lowered across the stage of existence. No doubt, he was at the end of the world, and it was no comforting thought. As he approached the front door, Joanne thought he could hear someone moving about inside, clanging pots and bumping into furniture. He stopped, confused. Even more perplexing were the snatches of tune he heard hummed. A little ditty from his childhood, something about a cat and a fiddle. Who was in there? Collecting courage, he lifted the crescent-shaped door knocker and let it fall against the door. Bits of grainy rock broke off and drifted slowly to the ground, capturing tiny moonbeams as they settled softly on the stoop. The pieces shimmered like stardust. A melodious voice called out, "Entree, entree, yes, I'm coming." Joanne peeked into the entry at the pool of light coating the floor like ivory paint. A figure in a long gown emerged from shadows and glided to greet him. A hand was offered, bedecked with a silver ring on each finger and sporting a dozen thin bracelets that jangled noisily. "Oh, it's you. What took you so long?"
Our guest author last week, YA fantasy author Trish Marie Dawson, posed a trivia question.
So my trivia question was, in To Kill a Mockingbird, who taught Scout how to write? And the answer is Calpurnia, the Finch's housekeeper and cook.
C.S., you have a trivia question for us.
Who said, "Someday you will be old enough to start reading fairy tales again"?
So C.S. will reveal the answer next episode, so make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss that. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Well, I would just say that if you're a young person and you're looking to become a writer, that first you need to read a lot, read lots of great books and study them and see how these authors write. I have a favorite fantasy author, Patricia McKillop, and I just love her writing, and I've torn apart all her books. I've read them many, many times. I underline, highlight, phrasing, just things about the way she writes that is so beautiful to me, and that influenced my writing a lot. So that's what I would encourage young people who are interested in writing to do. I have a lot of editing clients and young authors under the age of 20 that I work with, that I help with their first novels, with critiquing, and it's amazing. They write fantastic stories. So I would just encourage aspiring writers to study, write, learn. They can definitely subscribe to my blog, because I teach writing craft every week, livewritethrive.com, and I have a great newsletter that I put out that you can subscribe to that, get some free books. I'm always doing book giveaways, so that's a good place to start.
Okay, well, I hope you all have enjoyed getting to know C.S. Lakin just a little bit. I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure Series. As always, the ebook of Book 1 and the prequel are available for free download on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Google Play. Click the button to subscribe to the Book Nerd Paradise YouTube channel so you don't miss upcoming authors, giveaways, and answers to trivia questions. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing you again next Monday.